Okay, welcome to Shareability Uganda e-learning. My name is Nelson. We are going to also make some continuation of our questions that we are able to leave behind uncompleted. So we shall directly go to these questions. Since there are very many, we have to solve all of them. We are able to complete out some of these questions, which was in our activity number 1. So this is going to be our activity number 2. So in this activity number 2, we shall be able to look at the different tricks that they are using for us not to get the right answer. So let's try out to see them. Okay, so as you can see here, they are telling us to find the squares of fractions. Now the other side, we are just only dealing with numbers, but now here, as you can see, they have put them into fractions, and they want us to find the squares of the fractions. So you can see this is a fraction which is 1 out of 2, 5 out of 5, 1 out of 3, 3 out of 4, then one whole number, 1 out of 2. Then also we have decimals within here. So this simply means we shall now be able to see how do we find the square of a fraction, or the square root of a fraction, or the square root of a decimal. So let's get started, and we see how we are going to solve out these problems. Okay, so our part A is 1 out of 2, 1 out of 2. Our part B is 5 out of 8. We are having our part A. Our part A is 1 out of 2. They want us to find the square. The square of 1 out of 2. How do we get a square of 1 out of 2? We said when they talk about square, okay, let me sort out this. When they talk about a square, how do we deal this? What we do is to ensure that we multiply the number which is given by itself. From there we can be able now to get the can be able to get the square of that number, because remember, when we are dealing with square numbers, they had given us numbers of this kind. They had given us numbers of this kind, and they were saying that if we have 49, I'm assuming we have 49, we call this a what? We call this a square number. So this simply means that we shall now be able to look for which number can be multiplied by itself to get our 49. It is going to be the square of that. So here they were able now to say that we should find out the square of these numbers, simply meaning we shall now be able to get our 1 out of 2. We multiply it by itself. Then when we multiply it by itself, we shall be able to get our square number that they want. Okay, so when you multiply out a half by a half, this is going to be 1 out of 4. When it comes to multiplication here, we multiply directly. We say 1 times 1, then 2 times 2. We shall be able to get that. Then we just go direct to another number which was given. It was 5 out of another number which was given is 5 out of 5 out of 8. 5 out of what? 5 out of 8. Okay, another number which is given is 5 out of what? Have our 5 out of 8. Okay, 5 out of what? 5 out of 8. This is going to be our part B. So our 5 out of 8, we shall use the same method. It's going to be 5 out of 8, then times our 5 out of what? Out of 8. So for us here, we shall be able to come up with what is 5 times 5? We shall get our 20 what? 25. Then what is 8 times 8? We get 64. So this simply means that this is the square fraction of what? The square fraction of our number which is given. Then our part C was 1 out of 3. So also this is going to be equal to 1 out of 3 times 1 out of 3. Simply meaning we shall be able to get our 1 out of what? 1 out of 9. This is the square. So which means 1 out of 3 is the square. Is the square root of what? Of 1 out of 9. Then we come to our part D, and our part D is going to be what is our part D? Is a whole number. One whole number, 1 out of 2. Our part D is one whole number. Our part D is one whole number. It's one whole number, 1 out of 2. Our part D is one whole number, 1 out of 2. So now, when they give us this number, this is a mixed what? A mixed fraction. So what we can do is to first change this mixed fraction into a proper what? A proper fraction. How do we change it to a proper fraction? This is also in our videos that we have been making, and please you can also be able to cross-check back into our videos that we have been doing. So here we have now what we call, here now we have our mixed fraction. How do we get our mixed fraction? We say our 2 times 1 is going to be 2 times 1. Then we add this one up here, plus what? Plus 1. Then all this should be out of what? Out of 2. So here now we shall be able to get our 3 out of 2. So now here we've been able to get our proper fraction. Then now here we can say this is the same as 3 out of 2 times 3 out of 2. So our answer here is going to be equal to 9 out of 4. So this is the what? This is the square number that they really want. Okay, so let's also find out another number which has been given. Another number is what? Is a decimal number. They want the square root of that what? Of the decimal what? Decimal number. Part E, they want the square of what? Of our decimal number, which is 0.2. This is our decimal number. So now when you look at this decimal number which is given, they want us to find the square of this. For you to be able to solve it, you can multiply this decimal number. You say this is going to be equal to 0.2 times 0.2, or you can say our 0.2 is the same as 0.2 divided by 10. So we put 1 in the middle of a point, then a 0 in that. So this is also still equal to 2 out of what? 2 out of 10. and when you say 2 out of 10 is the same as 0.2. So this simply means if you can multiply this, then we can now be able to come up with our answers. Our answer now can be 2 out of 10 times 2 out of 10. This is the same as 4 out of 100. So when you divide 4 by 100 is what is our square fraction. Okay, so when you divide 4 by 100, we shall be able to get 0.04 as our what? As our square. So this simply means that our square number is what? Is 0.04 as given. So this is one way how we can now solve a square of a number when it is given. Let's also look at some other categories of numbers that has been asked. So we are having this is our number which is given again. Now when you can see this, they are saying find the square root. Now here they want us to find the what? The square root, but these square roots are what? Are also fractions. Can you see? These are also what? They are also fractions. So now how do we find the square root of these fractions? How do we find out the square root of these fractions? One is we have our part A, which is 1 out of 9. 1 out of 9. Okay, 1 out of 9. We have our part A. Our part A is okay, let me write it here. Our part A is 1 out of 9. So here they want us to find the what? They want us to find the square root. Okay, let me write here. Find square root. So this simply means if we have our 1 out of 9, 1 out of 9, we shall look out for the number. Which number can be multiplied by 1 to get 1? It is still a 1. So this is the same as 1 times 1. Which number can be multiplied by and we get a 9? We have a 3 times 3. So this simply means if we have our 1 out of 3 is going to be equal to our square root. So this we can say square root of 1 out of 9 is equal to 1 out of 3. So when we multiply 1 out of 3, we shall still get 1 out of 9. Okay, so let's also look at another number which has been given. Another number which is given, we have 6 whole number, 1 out of 4. 6 whole number, 1 out of what? 1 out of 4. Our part what? Our part B is 6 whole number, 1 out of 4. So now this is the number which has been given to us. We said we can still change this number into what? Into a proper fraction. We are saying we change 6 whole number, 1 out of 4 into proper fraction. Okay, so now when we have 6 whole number, 1 out of 4 into a proper fraction, it is going to be equal to our 4 times 6, which is equal to 24, then plus our 1, then out of 4. This simply give us 20 what? 25 out of 4. Then now we can now be able to get what? The square root of then we say square root of 25 out of 4. So now if you are to get now the square root of this number, we say our 25 out of 4. We look out for which numbers can be multiplied by itself to get 25. We have our 5 times 5 out of 2 times 2. So this simply means if we have our 5 out of 2 is going to be equal to the what? Is going to be equal to the square root. So this simply means the square root of 25 out of 4 is going to be equal to 5 out of 2. So here we shall have what? We shall have solved our numbers. Right, so for this this method, we can be able now to come up with some correct some correct answers, or else you can use some other method like prime factorization. You prime factorize a number by what? A number by number. If it is a 25, you prime factorize 5. You also prime factorize what? Also prime factorize our 4. You can also still get what? The square root using a variety of methods. Alright, so for the numbers that are remaining, we shall be able to meet in the next what? In the next lesson. Okay, so for this I do say thank you very much for being part of this lesson. We shall be able to meet in our next lesson. Please do not fail to check out on the playlist, and also don't forget to subscribe. Then in the comment section you can comment, and we understand where do we need to put some more emphasis, where do we need to repeat if you have really not make it perfect with us. Alright, so for this please stay blessed, have a nice moment. See you in the next lesson.